So, I don't really remember the format of these videos, but I watched Sing 2, and now you don't have to. It was not great. Uh, but it was pretty crazy. Not as crazy as Ice Age 5. I don't think I'll ever hit that high again. But, my phone is precariously balanced on a wedge, so I have both hands free. And I don't know if you can read anything on these cards. I really want you to read this one, just showing how much I fucking hate Nina. She's the worst character. She's so annoying. I hate her so much. But, regardless, here's the plot. So, the movie starts. Me run through a forest. I'm like, oh man, I hope she's gonna get murdered. But it turns out they're doing a production of Alice in Wonderland, but as a jukebox musical, I guess, because it's not clear how canon the songs are, because they're singing real songs, but they act as if they wrote the songs at least half the time. So it's like, okay, what's the context of this? Does this mean this Alice in Wonderland production is a jukebox musical? Who knows? Important note: Mike is not in this film. He is 100% dead. He got eaten by a bat. And that was based, frankly. It was based to kill him off. He was the annoying character. I didn't hate him as much as Mina, because at least he was interesting and did anything in the film. But, it's very funny that he does not show up, and the last time he was seen, there was a mafia bat on his car. So he definitely died. Which I think is based. So, the opens, they're doing another musical, they're performing, they're going around, and then, they finish the first number, they go backstage, and they're like, oh, do they like it? The person they're talking about is apparently there's a talent scout in the audience they're trying to impress. I got a little lazy with the drawings, especially at the end. Everyone's just humanoid, so it's kind of boring. But, they're like, oh, I don't know. So they go on the top of the stage, and he's spying on her. They're both spying on her through binoculars, and they see, and they're like, oh, she's laughed 7 times. And then she gets up and starts leaving. And he's like, oh, no, she's leaving. Everyone keep doing the musical. I'll go after her. So, he jumps off the roof. He does, like, a zip line across the roof. I don't know, it's weird. And he chases after her outside, and he's like, hey, did you like our show? I definitely wasn't watching it. She's like, you're just not cut out for this world. And he's like, he's really messed up about this. She leaves. He gets on his bike and chases after her in the car. And he's like, wait, where's the meeting? And she's like, no, you're not coming. Okay, I'm not putting your name down. You can't come. You're not cut out for this world. And then she drives off. He falls into a lake, onto a whale or something. It's random. And then, let me take this moment to say, he should rest on his laurels. Okay, mostly, in the first movie, he was, living in the theater. He had no money, but he is just desperate to impress this talent scout and put on, a big Broadway production. I mean, that's what I'm going to call it, because it's, big theater. But, he's so obsessed with this, and it's you do not need to do this. You are well off. You're having a good show. The theater is sold out every night. It's packed. It's just he has no appreciation for what he has. Frankly, he should have a hero's journey. Okay. Anyway, he goes back to them and he's like, "Oh no, they didn't. I should. This one should not be here. Ash is not here. She's gone solo." Which is a really important plot point in the movie, guys. Okay, she's gone solo. She's not with the group. Whilst they're performing. So, he goes back to them, he's like, oh, she didn't like it. And he thinks, and he's like, let's just go up there anyway. Let's just go to the audition. And just audition in front of the boss. And, and he's like, but we need one more person. And he goes to Ash's show, and he's like, hey, come with us, and we can put on a big theater production. I need your help. And then she's like, I'm kind of, I'm doing, concerts, and the venue owner is like, I'm only paying you half because that's his excuse. And then she's like, well, I guess I'm leaving. I'm gonna walk out. And then she does. And then she rejoins the group. That was the extent of the relevance of her going solo. That was it. It never comes up again one time in the film. I don't think she even has a character arc in this film, full stop. I don't think she's more of a plot device for the Calloway thing later. It doesn't matter. I'll get to it. So they get on a bus. There's a bit of pushback. They're like, oh, I don't know if I want to uproot my whole life. And it's like, you don't have a life, Johnny. Your father's in jail. That's my joke. You don't have a life, Johnny. God. And then Rosita's like, it's always been my dream to perform in the big city, the theatre. I don't remember the name of the city. I'm sure they say it a couple of times, but I don't remember it. And she's like, it's always been my dream to be in a show. And I'm like, alright, fine, let's go. And, they all go. They go on the bus. They're rehearsing on the bus an entirely new thing that he's just produced on his own, in one night. When they go up to the big city, I'm like, this is Vegas. Why is this city Vegas? Why are the theatre productions in Vegas? But it doesn't matter. They go to the place and they're like, alright, we need to do an audition. So they go to the secretary and they're like, you're not on the list. You can't come in. Because, he's not on the list. You can't come in. But, Buster breaks out his specialty, which is felonies and deceit. So he's like, alright, let's sneak in. We're going to dress Mina up like another elephant, because it's an elephant janitor or something. It's like, we're going to dress her up, and then we're going to pretend she's the janitor, and she'll sneak us in. She's like, oh, I don't know if I want to do this. I'm shy. That's my one character trait. Oh. But, they do it, and they sneak in, and it's like, cool. List of felonies of Buster Moon, at least one. I'm pretty sure he's done some more already. But, he's big on felonies. That's his character trait, not arc. He does not get over this. He will not stop lying and committing crimes. So, they go up to the audition room. They do that bit where they burn through all the songs that they didn't have a place for by putting them all with a different animal. Animal group singing that song. Same scene as Sing 1. There's even a snail singing. There's a slug this time. But it doesn't matter. They go, I have animals. I have animals to represent all the other acts. And they're performing in front of this guy, Crystal. Oh, Crystal joins the battle. Anyway, he's the white wolf. He's the boss, and he's like, he's pressing a big red button saying no to everyone because productions aren't good enough. And then his assistant, I didn't draw his little assistant, but I'll just have these guys be the assistant. And they're like, oh, you have to pick someone. And he's like, no, all these acts are garbage. No one can hold up to my standards. Even though he's saying no to everyone after exactly 1 second of production. And then the group comes out, they do 1 second of that production, and he's like, this sucks, get out of here. And he's like, no, we have ideas, we can be better. And he's like, no, get out of here. And then Gunther, the other pig, I think his name is Gunther. It's a bad reference, and his name's not Gunther, because they've both forgotten his name and then made a joke based off of it, but it doesn't matter. Then, it was like, oh, I had an idea for a sci-fi musical. And then he's like, that's the best idea I've ever heard. Give me an example. And then they all start improvising a song on the spot. And he's like, this is the most transcendent piece of music I've ever heard in my life. You're in. Actually, you're not in. But, you could be. Come back later. And then I don't remember what he says. He's like, he loves it so much, but he doesn't like it enough to give him the show. So, Buster busts out his primary tactic, crimes and deceit. He's like, I know Clay Calloway. I know him personally. He vanished 15 years ago. They talk about him like he's an established character. I don't know who he... Like, is it a name of a real famous actor? I don't know. But they call him Clay Calloway. They call him his full name every time. And he's this guy, and he's like, oh, he's super famous. But he vanished 15 years ago after his wife died. And it's like... I know him personally. He has agreed to be in this show if you just give us the space and the money. And he's like, well, yeah, sure. If you know Clay Calloway, if you're not lying for no reason, I believe you. And it's like, awesome. All right, let's write a show, and then and then they give him the space, and like that just all works out for him. He just, as soon as like you don't know what you just got yourself into, and he's like, yeah, I can just write a show in 3 weeks and then find someone who's been missing for 15 years and then convince them to join my show for no reason. So, Buster writes this little musical in one night. He's like, okay, I've given everyone their character motivations by giving them that one scene. And you know what? That musical, it very much shows it was written in one night, because it's like 20 minutes long. It's just 4 pop songs with the barest excuse for a plot connecting them. And I'm like, how is this? This is worthy of this infamous, famous theatre. The plot of the musical is there is a astronaut who is trying to find an explorer. So she goes to one planet, but he's not there, and they sing a song. Then goes to another planet, but he's not there, and they sing a song. And then he goes to another planet, and he's not there, and he sings a song. And then she goes to the last planet, and he is there, and he sings a song. And the musical ends. That's the entire show. What do you mean? That's your master. That's what you've been working on. Yeah, I get that you wrote it in one night, but how did anyone believe that this is your magnum opus that you've been planning for years? It's dumb. But anyway, he goes, writes a script, he gives everyone the character sheet, and he's like, alright, you're the lead, and you're gonna be the love planet, and you're gonna be the war planet, and he doesn't give anyone a role for the joy planet. I don't know who was supposed to be it originally, but he just doesn't give anyone the role. But everyone starts doing their little thing, start reading all the scripts, and he's like, hey, this is a fight scene. I don't know how to dance or fight. And he's like, yeah, I know. I'm going to force you to learn another skill. Like in the first movie where I forced you to learn piano for no reason, I'm going to force you to learn to dance. So you have to go... I got lazy with the things. I was running out of paper, and I was kind of bored. But this proboscis monkey is like the greatest dance teacher in all the land. So he goes off and he has to train with him, and he's a bad teacher. You can't teach him. And he's like, oh no, there's a kissing scene in my one. I can't do a kissing scene. I'm shy. And her scene partner is Eric Andre playing a bowl, which was very weird. I was like, what is he doing here? I do not know his name, but he's like, annoying or whatever. And shit, that's her character motivation. And then Rosita's like, oh, in this scene where I have to do my song, I have to jump, like, she just do like a thing where she jumps off of a wedge with like a bungee cord, and that's that's the number. She's swaying around. She's like, she goes up there. She's experiencing, vertigo, I guess. She doesn't like it. And she can't do it. And then this character walks in. Portia? I don't remember. Anyway, she walks in, and she's like, oh, I love shows. I love sci-fi. She's like a stupid idiot character. But she's Crystal's daughter. So she's going to use the power of nepotism to get in the play. That's the other plot point of the show. She says, I want the lead role. This is like, no, you can't act. I don't think any of these guys can act, so it's not that much of an improvement. I mean, she can sing, so that's the only thing anyone else there knows how to. So She's like, if you don't give me the lead role, I'm gonna tell my daddy. And Chris is like, you're gonna give her the lead role because she's a star. And he's like, okay, fuck it, fine, because she can do the stunt. He's like, oh, I'm fine going to take the other role. And then like it's weird because it does like the kind of thing where you expect it to like a smash cut to her like crying in the bathroom like comedically. Like she's like, oh, I'm fine, I'm not upset at all, and it smash cut to like sobbing, and it does do that, but it cut to like not smashing that, and the crying's not funny. It's just kind of sad. She's just like actually just sitting in the corner of the bathroom and crying, like not like exaggerated sobbing. She's just crying. It's just like actually sad. And you're like, damn, nepotism. And then fucking the lizard is like, I found him. I found Clay Calloway in one day. I just found him like that. And he's like, all right, cool. Go down there, get him on the show. He's got very high expectations for all these people apparently. So he goes off. She goes off. And then he start to rehearse for the show. Johnny Carlin dances. This is like bad, trying to do her thing, which is terrible at acting. Yoda does not have anything to do in this film. He suggests the idea for the musical, which is enough to entirely get Crystal on board, and then he does nothing in the rest of the show, which is kind of funny. Amina meets this fucking elephant. This elephant who sells ice cream, and she keeps going, and she immediately falls in love with him because he's the same species as her. I'm assuming that's the only thing they have in common. He's kind of funny, I guess. He doesn't have any lines. He has like a couple lines, but that's his thing. That's her thing. She doesn't want to do the kissing scene, and she has a crush on Ice Cream Boy. So that'll come into play later. So the lizard goes to Clay Calloway's house, and he shoots her with a paintball gun a bunch of times until she runs away. Like, he tries to climb over the fence, and then he shoots her with a paintball gun over and over again. The only thing, he's like, I can't do this, I can't learn the dance moves. So he runs away from class, and he finds this cat who's just dancing in the street as a street performer, and he's like, oh, whoa, she's like the best dancer I've ever seen. And that obviously means she's good at teaching, because all skills are transferable. If you're good at any skill, you can immediately teach it to anyone instantly. So he asks her to teach him, because he needs to learn how to dance for the show, and she does. There's a little montage, which takes place over the course of one day, because the monkey's like, you think you can replace me as a teacher? And she's like, yeah, I bet I can teach him the entire choreography in 2 days. And she does. In one montage, they play one song, and he's like fully capable of breakdancing, doing flips, bouncing his entire body on a stick. Like, those monks that can like bounce their whole body on a stick? Yeah, he can do that. With one hand. After 2 days. Because he just had to learn to go with the flow. To learn the choreography, you have to learn to go with the flow. Yep. Anyway, now everyone's in the places, in the style places. So yeah, then the lizard comes back and he's like, he's crazy. We can't get him. Buster and Ash, she's the only thing she's done in the movie so far. It's really important that she went solo. Okay, that was a really important plot point. I guess it is because she does not have a role in the show. I don't know if she was originally going to play one of the roles that Portia stole, but it doesn't really seem like it. She has no comment. She just doesn't show up until this scene. They decide to go down to his house. They do a Muppets maneuver, and Buster, whilst trying to climb the fence, gets electrocuted because it's an electric fence, and he wakes up inside. They've been talking, and he's like, I'll never do music again. And Buster's like, oh, come on, please. I really bet my entire livelihood on this one thing. On you being in my show, even though I had no connection to you. And fucking Ash says, is this what your wife would have wanted? Which is an insane move, because you do not know this fucking man. No one here knows him. Buster lied about knowing him. So they're like trying to manipulate him by going like, oh, your wife wouldn't have wanted you to stay in here and stop doing music. That means come and do our show because we need you, and otherwise we're fucked. It's like, it's a weird manipulation technique. And apparently, it works. It fucking works later, apparently. Because Ash is like, I'll stay here and I'll convince him, you go back and run the show. And he does. He goes back. He's directing. He's like, you know what? Fuck it. You suck. You cannot have this lead role. Which, like, still gonna reiterate, this is not a good play. You do not need to learn how to act, okay? You need to know one song. Each of you needs to know one song in the choreography, and then that's the whole play. But he fires her, and she's like, oh, I hate you, I'm gonna tell my daddy. And she runs away, to use her nepotism powers. So Crystal's like, come to my office, which is at the top of this massive skyscraper. And right before he goes in, he gets a call from Ash saying he agreed to be in the show. So he's like, oh good, I have something, because otherwise I was just gonna go in there and say, yep, I did the order, and I'm not gonna undo it. But now he has chips to play with. He thinks, actually, because he comes in and Crystal grabs him by the collar and says, what do you think you're doing? Firing my daughter? You think you're better than me? And then he tries to throw him off the edge of the building. He takes him over to the edge, and he lets go of his collar. And the only reason he doesn't fall is because Buster fucking grabs his arm before he can fall. And then he gets a call that he has to go do something else. And then, so he throws him in the closet and locks the door and says, I'll be back. Implying that he's going to come back and fucking murder him. The stakes go from 0 to infinity. He just suddenly decides that he's going to fucking murder him. In broad daylight, it's the middle of the day, he's in like the center of the city, and he's just gonna throw him off of his tower in plain view of everyone. He's willing to just go to jail immediately just to kill this guy, because he hates him so much. So, Buzz is like, you just tried to actually kill me. He just tried to kill me. And then he's locked in this closet, and he's freaking out because he's going to come back and murder him after he's finished doing his talk show or whatever. And then Suki comes and unlocks the door, and she's like, you have to get out of here. I told you weren't cut out for this. Which implies that she knew he was going to try to murder people. Implying that he's murdered people before. So maybe this whole throwing people off of his building in broad daylight technique is like well practiced, because the implication is that he has killed before and will again, and she knows and has just covered it up, I guess, because he's just so good at producing theatres. So because Kristen tried to murder Buster, it's also, fairly assumed that the show is cancelled, because, he stops giving them a bait, he cancels the show. So, Buster calls the rest of the gang, they all come back, and I guess everyone else in the cast didn't get the memo, because they're like, let's sneak in and do the show. Let's just sneak into the theater and do it anyway. So they do that, sneak in, set up the whole show. Portia comes back and she's like, I'm going to take, the role that you forced Rosita to take when I stole the lead role, because I'm my own person, or whatever. she has like this character arc that is not there. Like, I don't think there was any point where her dad didn't just give her anything she wanted without, any struggle. But she acts like she's rebelling against her dad. I mean, I guess she is rebelling against her dad because she's doing a play with the person he tried to murder. But like, this is not like a triumphant moment. You were the villain in this movie up until moments ago when you decided, actually, I'm okay with not being the lead role. So they decide to do the show. They start doing the show. This is a funny plot point. This is like, what if his goons come and try and get us whilst we're doing the show? And then Johnny's like, don't worry, I got connections. So he calls his dad and he brings his gang in to act as protection for the show, which is just a very, very funny concept. You just have one of the actors call that gang boss father to fight the theater mafia. I think the whole movie should have been gang prince actor versus mafia theater boss. I mean, the whole movie would have been better in that way. So yeah, they start doing that terrible show, which is, 4 songs. She goes to the first planet, and Johnny, he knows the moves now, and he does the dance, but then the monkey, he's mad. He comes in, and he's like, he steals the costume of the fight partner, and then just starts actually attacking him, because, he's breaking choreography, because he's supposed to win the fight, obviously, because that's how the choreography goes. But, the monkey just kind of beats him up with the sticks and just hits him and knocks him over. And, like, all the other cars is like, what the fuck is he doing? That's not a show. But then they keep the song going for longer, start drumming or whatever, and keep singing the song so that he could keep going and win. Oh, it's, that's his character. That's his character arc of, he couldn't dance, now he can dance. So he learned to go with the flow. So he's irrelevant for us. I can tear this up. He will not come into play later. Then you go to the second planet, planet of Joy or whatever. And at this point, the mafia, the theater mafia and Crystal, they've broken in to try and get them. The gang gets all his goons, but Crystal gets through. And Portia sings her song, which is like, I'm independent, I don't need you no more. She sings that, it was a very relevant song, apparently. Did they know that he was going to walk in whilst she was singing this song about not needing anyone? I don't know. But Buster, like, opens a trapdoor, like a theater stage trapdoor, and he falls into it, and it traps him down there. And he's like, there's food and water in there. And I'm like, you don't need to do that for him. He tried to murder you. He literally tried to murder you. But yeah, they all come in there. He goes off. She's done. I won't, when they have that moment in this musical, that moment is done. They're no longer in the film. Get rid of this. Get rid of this. The other was never relevant. He was never relevant after the first bit. So now it's me in the scene. So they're doing the scene, and she's still like, oh no, what am I gonna do? But then she imagines that her scene partner is actually the ice cream boy instead. And then she's like, oh, now I'm comfortable with doing this romantic scene. She does not kiss him, by the way. I'm pretty sure maybe I wasn't paying attention, but she didn't kiss him. So the entire earlier thing of like, oh, I don't know if I can kiss someone, irrelevant. So they do have their romantic song, and then the other actor is just like, oh, this is gonna look so great on my socials. Before the curtain has gone down, the curtain is not down. You can't stay in character and then walk off stage. He's like, oh, this is gonna rule on my socials, and they take pictures, and then he walks off stage, and then Mina walks up to the front of the stage where Ice Cream Boy is watching the show, and she's like, oh, do you want to go out to get dinner sometime or something? And then he's like, oh, yes, I would. And I'm like, you're still fucking on stage. Wait for the scene to end, then go off stage, then talk to him. What are you doing? Why are you doing this in the middle of the show? The show's just irrelevant now. So yeah, she does that. Our scene's over. He's irrelevant. I'm like throwing them behind me. I'm gonna have to pick them all up later, but it's kind of funny. So now, there's Rosita's moment where she has to jump off the ship stage and like do her like swinging. Oh, Gunther is actually in the scene. He does it too, but like he has no stress over it. He doesn't care. He enjoys it, so it doesn't matter. So Rosita's like, apparently they have not done this in rehearsal. I guess they didn't rehearse because they just decided to do the show now, and they prepared in one night and switched up everyone's roles. But she's trying to do this, but she can't do it. She like freaks out. She has a panic attack. And she just sits down and stops singing for like 30 seconds. But in that time, one of the mafia goons got through. This like a little guy who's like his assistant. I don't fucking remember his name. He's not relevant. I didn't draw him one. But that's probably just because I didn't remember his name. One of the mafia goons frees Crystal from his little trap door, and he goes up, grabs Buster, takes him to the top of the stage in full view of everyone again, and throws him off. He actually throws him off, and he's going to fall to his death. But luckily, this play is very dramatically relevant because she has to swing around with the stage wire. So she's like, okay, well, I guess I'm doing this. She jumps off, catches him, puts him on the floor, and keeps doing the scene. And that's how she gets over it. If you need to get over a fear of heights, just have your boss get thrown to his death in full view of everyone by someone. And then they leave him up there, I think one of the Gorilla Gang people goes up there to grab him. It's irrelevant. Everything's irrelevant. And then, he's gone. Then, it was Clay Calloway's scene, he's so important to this film. And its plot and the musical. And Ash is also there. And she's like, you don't have to do this. It's just an F that you came out and tried, or something. I don't know. What's he gonna do if he doesn't come out? You gonna go out? You promised Clay Calloway. That's how they advertise the show. By the way, they just hijack the airwaves and say, everyone come to the theater. We totally have permission to do this show. So Clay Calloway's gonna be in it. But then he goes out. He does his little song. It's like a guitar song. I don't remember. It's fucking meaningless. Every song in this film is meaningless. They have no relevance to the plot. It's not a real musical, okay? The songs aren't relevant to the characters or the plot. They're just random songs with vague vibes. And then, he does his song, and then Rose is like, mission accomplished. And that's the end of the musical. As I said earlier, that's just the fucking end of the musical. There's no dialogue in this musical. There's no plot. There's no stakes. The war planet, you might think, oh, she's gonna have to fight someone. Nope. The fight is between two random people on this planet, and she just kind of watches off the side. What is the fucking plot of this musical? This is not a musical. This is like Cats. It's like Cats, where everyone just sings a little poem, but, shorter and less weird, because I must assume that the only benefit of Cats is that it's weird, but I haven't seen that. And then the musical's done, and it was successful, and they go home. Suki calls the police to arrest Crystal for his numerous counts of attempted murder and probably counts of actual murder. They arrest him. He goes off screen, and then they all get back on the bus and go home. That's how the movie ends. They just can't go home.